We'll be talking the NFL draft and Katie Blackburn's comments on Joe Mixon. Coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time?
Yeah.
Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati Podcast. I am Ace Boogie. He is Zimhude. Zimothy, what's up, bro?
Nothing much, man. I'm on here trying to make some plays right now, figuring out what's moving, what's shaking, how we gonna rock on. A lot of stuff, I guess, if it's just off season or if it's just we're bored, whatever topics starting to heat up. Don't know if it's really that real to me. We're gonna see how it go. I feel really good about everything that we got moving forward. A lot of, as we're going to get onto the show. So like just in general, you know, we're heading into spring, you know, and I'm feeling really good about springing forward into some dubs.
For sure. Well, thank you guys for attending the Wincinnati Podcast. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Make sure that you share this with your friends. If you are watching from YouTube, we appreciate that. Make sure you guys throw some comments in the chat because we will go through those and love to see your insight from the show. But coming up on today's show, Irv Smith, Nick Scott, the Bengals have been signing a lot of quality players. We will be discussing those moves. And then obviously it's draft season. You know what happens with draft season? Pro days. One pro day in particular we're going to really examine is the one with Pitt. We're going to talk about that. There are 2 guys that the Bengals could be targeting within that. And speaking of targeting, who am I targeting in the mock draft? We'll go through my mock draft. We'll get the criticisms. We'll get your feedback coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast. All right, the first thing we are going to talk about, number 9, Joe Burrow has begun contract negotiations with the Bengals. According to Zach Taylor, there's a quote here from Katie Blackburn that says, but Joe, obviously, at the end of the day, it's what Joe wants. And so I think he's got to be happy, and we've got to be happy, and hopefully we can be happy together. This is going to be the topic of the offseason, right? The Bengals extending Joe Burrow to avoid a Lamar Jackson situation. We see what's going on with him. That was a situation where they didn't extend him year 3. Zim, for you, what does a Joe Burrow extension look like? How do you feel about this thing kind of starting up and the conversations ramping up with Joe Burrow?
Joey Burrow. I feel like the Joey B contract is a lot of front-loaded money. Joey B getting a crazy signing bonus of like maybe 60. That's almost maybe close to 60, 70 million maybe. I think the beginning portion of it probably looks like 60 million on the signing bonus and like 30 to 40 million in escrow. So you got like 100 million in guarantees. I think it'll be a long-term deal, 8 to 10 years with rolling guarantees as the contract goes further and further along. As we've been saying, I guess all along, I don't know, you know, we had, if you guys hadn't watched it, go back and watch it. We had Brad from PFF. We had some other people that we've talked about that contract a couple of different times too. But I think it's one of the ones that make Joey B the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. But his APY isn't the part that is really that important, I think, to the Bengals. It's more the guaranteed money and the flexibility of the contract. And those are the big points to me. And I think the signing bonus that I was talking about pretty much ensures that the money that he already had in guarantees of the $11 million that he already has under contract and the little bit of money I was saying, like say it's 20, 30 million in escrow, that guarantees pretty much 100 million in itself for the first 2 years. So if you're following that math, one portion of it is a big chunk of change that is in cash, but it's same cap hit of 11. Maybe it goes up a little bit to like 14. He has a base salary that they add on, and now it's 14 million instead of 11. Just moving around a little bit of that money. but the guarantees are in the check that they'll give them, just like they gave Orlando Brown a week ago $31 million, just like they gave Pratt $10 million the week before that or after that, whatever. They're not short on money. If they were, they wouldn't be handing out signing bonuses of that nature. And cap hit, as we're recording this March 30th, 7:37 p.m., they have 17.8 cap in cap, 17.8 in cap space. Maybe some outlets, pros, Spotrac and all that might have it at 17.2. Some has it at 18. With $18 million in cap space, the Bengals are not hurting at this point right now. The part where it gets dicey is if they bring on another guy at some point, whether it's after the draft, before the draft, or whatever, another free agent could change that very fast.
Yeah, I think, like you said, looking at what Andre Parada and you guys kind of talked about, which is pretty similar to 51 million AAV, the 60 million bonus, that sounds like Paycor money, right? They get the 60 million every single year. They could give that as a signing bonus. I think the guarantee money, like you said, it seemed like Katie Blackburn wasn't really concerned about the guarantees and exceeding a guy like a Deshaun Watson. It was more so about setting it up for a structure that works for them, right? And the structure that works for them, like we've seen in the past, Carson Palmer, he signed that 10-year deal, $118 million back in 2005. You take the other 2 years onto that, it ended up being around 10 years. Carson was supposed to be here until 2014. And the main purpose of that is to give them cap flexibility and secure their future. And obviously, Joey B is a guy that you want to do that with. They didn't shy away from it, like Zim pointed out, with Orlando Brown with the $30 million signing bonus. But this is a situation that you want to kind of get done as soon as possible. You're a little bit in a race between the Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are also in similar situations. But I don't think Joey B is going to make this a tough situation for them. I do think that they get it done. And, you know, I think Joey B is in the clear. I don't think anybody's really panicking or thinking that this could be a Lamar kind of situation. We think that this will probably be a Pat Mahomes type situation, done for the long term. But there was another contract that came up. Katie Blackburn also talked about, friend of the show, Joe Mixon. This is what she had to say about Joe. He's done a lot of great things for the team. I think he's still got a lot of great production in him. It's a big jigsaw puzzle, and you put one piece in, and maybe that changes the way that you see another piece. So we just have to wait and see how things play out a little bit. Now, this caused a big ruckus on Twitter earlier because a lot of people read that the day before, which was yesterday. We're recording this on Thursday, March 30th at 7:39. There was an audio clip released courtesy of Hear That Podcast, Growlin, Paul Daner. So shout out to those guys, where a lot of people were trying to dissect the audio, right? They were like, oh, well, it sounded like she was comfortable when you read it, but when you heard it, she sounded clearly uncomfortable. The thing that we discovered is that wasn't the full clip, right? There was still audio left on to the rest of that where she said something that I've heard them say in a lot of spaces. Well, if you're thinking about cutting Joe Mixon because of getting cap space, you could think about a lot of players to do that with, right? And Zim's always brought that point up for sure, but it didn't seem like a definitive thing, like it was kind of being phrased and put on Twitter as being. I'm not sitting here saying that it's not possible. I just think that there was kind of a little bit of a false sense of Joe Mixon is not here for the foreseeable future. Because to me, it sounded like she wanted to see what they were going to do in the draft, see if he was going to be productive. It is a possibility, but it's not, you know, saying it right now, to use her words, would be unfair. They have legal situations to get through. So she said technically it would be unfair for her to really answer and put something on that. What were your thoughts on it? Because this Mixon thing has obviously been really big on social media. It's been kind of two-sided. You know, you got one side over here that wants Mixon. Actually, it's kind of three-sided. You want one side that just wants to outright cut Mixon, not pay him the money. You got another side that wants to keep Mixon, doesn't think that you can really replace him. Then you got another side that wants him to take the pay cut or draft a running back or something like that. What are your
It's so many. Like
it's a bunch of different factions for sure.
Mixon cutters evolved after, I think, people like myself. I'll take the hit. I'm the lead catalyst for like dissecting Mixon cutters. Because Mixon cutters came and they were created on September 9th, 2020. There was a large amount of people that just did like the idea of a running back getting paid X amount of money. Those people then went for battle after battle to say that, oh yeah, P-Ron's better. He don't get enough snaps. Oh my God, he not running that much. Like, I'm gonna put out some more content, and as long as they're bringing up Mixon, I'm still going to bring up Mixon too. I want that to be very clear. I probably don't have that many tweets on Mixon, but for whatever reason, they're trying to invalidate me and try to put this blame on me like I'm some vigilante or something like that because I'm talking about a topic where I disagree with a large following that thinks that the Bengals would be better if you're cutting one of your better players. If you're in the comment section right now and you think that your team is better, that you're cutting a player, what are you replacing it for? I mean, what are you replacing it with? The conversations that were asked to Katie Blackburn, I thought the context of what was insinuated online is so weird that the fact that we as Bengals fans aren't looking at everything, single thing to this. You could be a person that thinks that you want to get better from Joe Mixon, and I will be right there with you. You could think that Joe Mixon, you could pair him up with another running back, and I'm right there with you. You could be a person that even says that I don't think I want Joe Mixon on the team, but I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get better. But cutting him is stupid. And people that want to cut him don't even have logical reasons why. Oh, just give me Zeke. Like, did y'all watch Zeke? No, bro, he's in a system that's a run first type of, system more so than what Joe Mixon is. And remember, Mixon doesn't fit the system because it's a pass happy, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but then Mixon caught all these passes. He had more passes than Tyler Boyd, 60 receptions. She's pretty much saying a lot of the stuff that I'm saying. If you are so enamored with cutting Mixon, she said in her quote, if you're going to evaluate it that way, you will have to go look at multiple people on the team. Whoever started to cut Mixon and the Mixon cutters or whatever, if you have a large following or you're a writer and you continue to whatever, there are so many different people. So when somebody like me speaks on it, they're like, oh, let's invalidate him and make him seem like he's toxic. This is the first time I've done a show since I released any video or anything like that. So mind you, I done watch people on their own Bengals shows tell people I'm divisive and all this other stuff when I want the Bengals to win more than all these dudes. And these other shows are telling people that I'm not who I say I am on the strength of we have a difference in opinion on how we could do this. Katie Blackburn seemed very awkward with it. Background noise in the background. Didn't feel like she wanted to commit to anything because remember, her background as a lawyer, so it's not speaking in front of people and all these different things like that. Because I would have sidestepped the question, like whatever. But the person that asked her the question asked her the question 3 times repeatedly. Y'all watch this on Wincinnati. If I came on here and I said, Ace, man, tell me about your house, and he said, yeah, I think the house is real cool. I'd be like, yeah, but tell me about like the house, like how did you get into it? And then by the second time that you're watching an interview, you'll get the hint that the person isn't really trying to talk about that particular subject in the example that I gave. It's very clear you get to the second question, she's like, yeah, like that's why everybody online is like, oh, it just sounds like word soup, because she's trying to use the lawyer background to like kind of make sure that she doesn't step on anybody's toes, and she kind of circles back because it's a very awkward moment for her to, in my opinion, to just go and say, yeah, we don't need him. We need, you know what I'm saying? Like none of this is set in stone. So a lot of this is wait and see. But the people that are saying that have been Mixon cutters all along are trying to insinuate and tell people like, see, she said for right now. She also said that he's the starting running back. She also said that no decision is made now. She said a lot of different things that would stand on the point that we really just don't know at this point, or he's currently your starting running back. And I don't see any, she pretty much, and I'm paraphrasing, pretty much said, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be here versus anybody else being here. Now, mind you, that's her job is not to say this guy's here, this guy's not. So that's why I felt like she was like kind of taken aback by the questions. I tweeted, I thought she was off guard. It wasn't that I thought that she wasn't ready for an interview. She was taken off guard by the whole premise of, oh, I'm about to get like you're asking another question about like, because to me the hot topic is Joe Burrow and T. Higgins contract. Like if I'm just an outside opinion, like it's not Joe Mixon getting cut. Like that's not a hot topic unless you want it to be a hot topic. And how would you make it that? You have to ask the questions on it over and over again.
Yeah, I would say I totally understand both sides and like where you're coming from with that, because it did just kind of seem like people took that, clipped that part, and ran with it. And at first, like when I heard it, I was like, "Oh, that doesn't sound good." And then I went back and listened to the whole thing, and I was like, "Oh, she talked similarly about other players the same way: T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow." So I know we're not cutting those guys. So for me, I just want to see how this thing plays out. One of the possibilities, though, that you kind of touched on earlier is the addition of Zeke. And does Ezekiel Elliott signing with the Bengals, does that make them better? I'm going to say this. The Bengals haven't done anything at the running back position at all, right? Outside of bringing back Travion Williams at the running back position. They did lose a big piece in Samaje Perine. And I don't mean as a player, but I think as a pass blocker, right? Like from that aspect, they don't really have anybody, at least on the roster, outside of maybe Travion, that can really pass block, right? You look at the draft, I watched our good friend of the show, Steven Radisovich. He kind of was on another podcast talking about how hard it is to get a rookie running back that can pass block, right? This is my thing. If you're signing Ezekiel Elliott and it's for like league minimum, yeah, I think he does make us better just because of his pass blocking, not because of his running. I do agree with you guys. I think he's lost a step, things like that. But here's the other thing about Zeke. He has, in recent years, played in a two-man backfield, right? So I don't think that you're getting an Ezekiel Elliott that thinks he's the lead guy anymore. I mean, he wasn't even the lead guy with Pollard last year. He had 800 yards, 12 touchdowns. Did some things in the rushing. He was 30th according to SIS in terms of that. But this guy is 28 years old. The only reason I'm bringing Zeke in is for the pass blocking. Like maybe pass blocking, maybe that Perine role that Samaje had last year. I think he's an upgrade over Perine. I mean, Samaje Perine, as much as Bengal fans love him, I still don't think that he's better than a watch Zeke at this point. But I don't think signing Zeke keeps you from signing another running back. Whereas if that running back doesn't work out, or if that rookie has fumbling issues, or if he can't pass protect, as we've seen with guys like Chris Evans, that you do have another option there in Zeke that is a good pass blocker. So for Zeke, I think he does make us better in that aspect because this is a passing team, as you guys pointed out earlier. They passed the ball, 62% of the clip at the time. They currently right now don't have a running back on the roster that can pass block at a level that Zeke can. So I think Zeke would be a good addition for the Bengals.
It doesn't do anything for me. If you got Zeke on it, it's just like, remember the cornerback conversation we was having earlier? It's like you stacked up the room. Sure, your depth is better, but the plan is always like, this is the part that mix and cutters use to talk about, like people like myself that are enthusiasts of Zeke. I mean, of Mixon, is that they'll try to make it seem like all I want is Mixon. No, I'm trying to go to the draft and go get a running back early. I don't care about pass blocking. I do not care about pass blocking. I feel like that was an agenda that was pushed by mix and cutters to make people think about pass blocking when you think about running backs. Who cares about pass block? Let me tell y'all this real quick. Perine was given 60 snaps total in pass protection in a 17-game season, right? If you did the math on that, how many pass blocking reps is that in a whole year? Like, what is that, 3.5? You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about we're gonna add somebody for pass blocking. No, I want an offensive line that can block. And if my front five can block those five, I dare you to blitz me. The reason why Perine was in the AFC Championship game is because the front five couldn't block 5 people and they were bums. And so if you and why is that important? Because the Bengals are the least blitz team in the National Football League. Everybody pay attention to this. If you're like a person, I've seen a lot of Zeke people, stop thinking that listen to this point. Listen to this point. Running backs are to be elusive, make plays, run the football, catch the football, all these different things. The people that have started this pass blocking narrative are people that don't want Joe Mixon to be there that failed to get him out of here before. This is the truth. The 60 reps that I'm talking about for P. Ryan would not make me go to the draft and start looking at pass blocking runners. You know what I would do? I would just go get a Gibbs. I would go get an elusive Abandakanda. I would go get a real crazy running back that just comes right out of the backfield, and I dare you to blitz me, and I'm just going to throw the football to him, and I dare you to blitz. The difference is I'm aggressive and I'm being proactive. If a guy comes on a nickel blitz or whatever on Joe Burrow, and I don't have a running back there that's not elite at at pass blocking, how many times a year do I think that that's going to get him? I don't know. It's hard to compute that, but it's not enough to make me feel like I'm going to go get me a running back solely based off pass blocking. I'm going to go get me an elite fat front five that could block the five that's in front of him. If somebody wants to blitz, then Joe Burrow's going to make them play. It's going to make them pay. Like, period. Like, I just don't get that part. The pass blocking joint is so overrated. 3.5 snaps a game he had pass protection this past year. And did y'all know that Joe Mixon only had 3 bad graded PFF pass blocking games in the whole entire season? 3. But everybody said that he can't pass block.
The only thing I'll push back on that is the Bengals have set this threshold on pass blocking, because that's why guys like Chris Evans and these guys aren't getting a chance. Is pass blocking important to the Bengals? It seems like it is. That's the only reason. Like, it might not be important to us, but it's kept guys like I still don't understand that. Chris Evans, every time he's been on the field, he scored a touchdown, but he can't play because he can't pass block. So for me, if that's the constraints that they're putting on it, I mean, I just don't see, like, right now, say they go and get a guy like Izzy that we'll talk about later on the show. Our man Chef said that he can't pass block. Is that exception going to get taken off if he's not going to be on the field?
Do not care. Bro, let me ask everybody right now, 100-something people in here right now. If Nick Chubb became available currently right now in the open market, are you taking Nick Chubb, yes or no? Are you taking Nick Chubb, yes or no?
Would I take Nick Chubb?
Yes or no? Just yes or no. Not a
for concept. Our offense, no. For our offense, no, just because we're a passing offense. Nick Chubb is that's like asking would I take Derrick Henry. If you notice,
what's your favorite running back? What's your favorite running back?
Running back that I would take for our offense would be Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara will work in our offense.
Perfect. Alvin Kamara, right? Do you know that he can't pass block? Like, you know what I'm saying? That doesn't stop you from saying that I want a running back. You know what I'm saying? Look at all the comments. Mm-hmm. Did y'all know that Nick Chubb cannot pass block and he can't catch receptions out of the backfield? You say that Mixon can't pass block or whatever, but that wouldn't stop an argument. If you had a top running back on your team right now, you would just take the best running back. I don't care who it is.
But with Nick Chubb, he didn't play on third down in Cleveland because he couldn't pass block. That's what they used Kareem Hunt for. So we already have our Nick Chubb and Mixon, but we need a guy that can pass block. That's why I'm saying, like, you got to. But
I just gave you the numbers. I feel perfect. Perfect. You're not a Mixon cutter, but you're not as strong on the Mixon. Got it. Perfect. You're putting the emphasis on pass blocking, but why did you just disregard the number? This is what I always want to ask.
No. This is what I'm saying.
Why you disregard? Hold on, I didn't even ask the question.
Hold on, this is what I'm saying, because you just said that I'm putting all the emphasis on pass blocking, not for the main running back. Not for the main running back. For my third down running back, yes, you need to be able to pass block. Not for my main running back.
But I just gave you the numbers just 5 minutes ago. How many reps did I say P. Ryan had in pass blocking the whole year?
You said he had 60.
Right. And how many is that a game?
I think you said.
See, they don't listen. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. That's why my arguments never hit, because nobody cares. They just don't even care.
You said 3 pass reps a game.
All right, so 3 a game. So for 3 a game, we're going to say we don't want somebody because they don't pass block 3 times a game? That's literally what P. Ryan just did.
I just don't see it being that, bro, because that would be like on every third down a running back isn't blocking. Like, if they have to pass the ball.
But that's not every third down. They want you to think that it's every third down. It's not every third down, because I just showed you he's only in pass protection 60 times. I mean, 60 times for the whole year. You know what he was doing on those other ones? He was going out in the flats and nobody cared because he was slow.
Well, what was Joe Mixon also in for pass blocking reps?
Sometimes, yes. He on average about three a game. Go look at PFF right now. Ryan, you want to pull it up? Oh, you got a PFF locked in? I'll show you. He only had 3 bad pass blocking games, and on average, he had 3 pass blocking reps per game. Whether teams wanted to,
I'm just saying that in football, no matter
I'm not picking a running back off a pass.
Everybody has a third down running back. Like literally, everyone has a third down running back.
I'm
just
not
saying
selecting.
We need to have one of those. I don't think like the dude in the draft should be. He's got to be a pass blocker. He should probably be a guy that could be a potential like heir apparent to Joe Mixon later. It shouldn't just be. And if you could get Zeke for league minimum, I would just take that, bro.
Okay, I would. I'm just gonna go to the draft and go get a younger version of Mixon or Kamara at 21 years old, and I'm gonna cook you. And nobody's gonna blitz me. And I'm gonna have Joe Mixon on first and second down, and then the guy that I'm talking about that's as elusive as hell, like a Bandakanda or like Jahmyr Gibbs or somebody like that, on third down, I'm gonna knife you up and I'm gonna score 40 a game and blitz me. I don't care about pass blocking. Not for my running back. Of course, teams are gonna send unique. But I got the best processor in football. That's propaganda, bro, that they spitting. Like, that's not real. People say that because they want to push it because they didn't win when they told all of y'all that P. Ryan was better than Mixon and they lost. How many games did P. Ryan run for over like 50 yards? Like 1. And that was the Chiefs game. He never did anything. But they told y'all all year, like, he's the better
I'll say this. Let's take P. Ryan out of it. Giovanni Bernard wasn't their best pass blocking running back. They didn't bring him in on third downs before Gio
Bernard is one of the best blocking running backs of all time. And Giovanni Bernard was a weapon on third down. That's why I'm saying I went to the draft, and I'm just going to go get my weapon, bro. And then
the only problem I have with the draft is just like Steven Radisovich said, it's hard to find rookies that can pass block. That's the only thing.
Chris B, we got to get to the super chat, but Chris B,
let's get into the super chat.
Give him a mic. Chris B, I want to talk. Like, we're gonna get real tonight. Listen, Mixon has 2 yards, 100 yards again. I want to talk to y'all because I promise you have no weight. I will cook every argument that you have. Mixon has 2 yards for 2 games for 100 yards. When do we look at running backs and say how many 100-yard games that we want, unless we're trying to prove a point that a guy isn't who we say he is? How about Mixon doesn't get the carries that any of the top running backs get, and Mixon had 1,300 all-purpose yards on the whole entire year? How come when I tell y'all about passing stats, you just go right away and you go silent? How come Mixon missed 3 games and was on pace for the same numbers that he did in 2021, but a guy like Chris B wants to ignore that? How come when I say that I'm looked at like I'm crazy because I'm a Bengals fan? When has a Bengals fan ever caved or went so hard on not liking our own players? It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. They've gotten to you too, Chris B.
All right. Dustin Croft here says, scenario, Zim. What would you do if a team wanted to trade a high second-round pick for Mixon and take on the salary? Would you take that trade?
Hold on. A second-round pick for Mixon in the salary? I would definitely entertain that. I need to know where in the second round you're talking about. Yes, 100%. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, nobody asks like Mixon cutters. Go ahead and ask them. I'm gonna give you real answers. The difference is I understand that if you cut Mixon, the other side of it. Look at me close in my face. I want to post this on the internet. The guy that said.
Hold on, did your audio go out? I think your audio went out.
Let me tell you something, Mixon Cutter. The guy that says that, you never in your life thought about the other perspective because you're looking at it from a cutthroat lens. You've now dried out this guy's market. And, oh, I like Mixon. He's really good. You don't like Mixon if you waited this long. And we're going to take away all your suitors. You're not going to have any suitors. Then we're going to cut you later on, so now your market is dry. But this is the kicker that you never thought about. Say this, Mixon Cutter. At the end of this, if you cut him and then he goes and hits the open market, who do you think he's going to go to for a bargain deal? Exactly. An AFC contender like the Bills or the
Chiefs.
And you just handed him to him for $3 or $4 million and said, here, take a top for $3 or $4 million. Mixon Cutters, you don't make sense. I hate to call somebody stupid, but I do not understand your intelligence level. It's not making sense. You're not computing.
All right. We got another one here from Brad Rupert for $5. Appreciate that, Brad. He says, how about Derrick Henry on a 2-year deal on the right price? He can still block, catch, run the ball, and
Derrick
draft
Henry.
a running back. This is what I said. Like, you have to
No.
have a certain type of running back for the Bengals, in my opinion. Derrick Henry, the Nick Chubb guys, they got to get at least 20 carries. Like, this offense isn't giving running backs a legit 20 to 25. Like, you're talking about Derrick Henry. Sometimes he gets 30 carries. That's not happening in this offense, bro. Like, and Derrick Henry at a discount. How do we even know he's getting cut yet? I haven't heard that report yet coming out of Tennessee. But no, to me, Derrick Henry doesn't fit this offense. A running back in the draft, sure. Go ahead, bro.
Bro said, what if Mixon gets hurt? Who you going to play? Travion Williams is just a good enough pass protector.
I don't know.
Hold on. Check this out.
I think he's a good pass protector.
I'm not cutting your points off. Come on, Mixon Cutter. Don't turn into a Mixon Cutter.
He also has an injury history himself with Travion. Travion.
Yeah, but I'm going to the draft to get a running back. I wasn't done. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
All right. So inside the building, y'all aren't looking at this. The Bengals look at Williams much like how when we got Piron. He's a solid guy, more explosive as a runner, and they love him in pass protection. They're looking at him like they got him as a fraction of a deal from the Piron deal. The Piron deal is close to $4 million. You just got Travion for 1.25, 1.75, and he's just as good of a pass protector. Now, mind you, he hasn't done it in an NFL season, but in practice, they do. And so if Mr. Pass Protector, what if I told you I got the younger, faster version of him in Travion Williams, and I'm still going to the draft to go draft the heir apparent successor running back for Mixon, whether it's the second round, third, or fourth. I'm coming out of it with a faster running back, and I've added to the room. I didn't take away from the room. See how addition works, Mixon Cutter?
I wanted to add Zeke to the room. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to add Zeke.
I'm not mad at adding Zeke to the room, but you know what's going to happen? You will go to the draft, and now you'll be drafting some bum at the back of the draft, and it'd be like another, not even a Chris Evans situation. I honestly don't want them to bring that in so that they have more pressure on them to go get a top elite running back at the top of the draft, like a Jahmyr Gibbs or something like that. Then maybe you make a real decision on what you want to do with Mixon. You want to cut him later or whatever, that's cool. But I want the onus to be on, we need to get younger, faster, stronger. See that, Mixon Cutter? They don't listen to that part. That's the key part.
So moving on, another addition that the Bengals made, Irv Smith swerving Irvin. They signed him to a 1-year deal, 24 years old, 6'2", 242 pounds. This was one of the dudes that you talked about. You name dropped this a lot leading up to this. I like what this guy adds to the offense. Looking at some numbers that I got here, last year we were kind of talking about Hayden Hurst and what he brought to the offense. The way that he was lined up, Hayden Hurst was 50%. He lined up at his tight percentage was 50%. His slot percentage was 28.7, and his deep percentage was 21.5. Looking at Swervin Irvin in the Vikings offense, his tight percentage was 61%, slot percentage was 29, deep percentage was 21. So spot on numbers for how the Bengals kind of use Hayden Hurst, which makes me believe he is a Hayden Hurst replacement. I think he's a little bit more athletic, though. I think he adds a little bit more to this offense. I think it can be unlocked, especially with a guy like Burrow. Loads of talent. Excited to have this dude in the offense. Things were looking bleak, I'm not going to lie. After the Foster Moreau stuff went down, I almost forgot Irv was out there. And, wanted to know, could he be a possibility? This kid's 24, bro. Talk to us about Swerving Irv, a big addition for the Bengals.
Man, I love the move. It's a move where y'all better stop trolling me while I turn up, man. The Irv Smith move is really good on the sense of it's a low risk. You're not paying a crazy price tag for it, and I feel like he's a younger version of exactly pretty much what Hayden Hurst gave you, except he's faster. I think Hayden Hurst might have slightly – I haven't looked at their RAS scores together, neck and neck or whatever, but I know Swervin Irvin ran a 4.6 when he was coming out. I do know that. So as far as speed or whatever, I think you get a little bit of that. I still don't think you get the consistent deep seam passes that I want, but as a cheaper version of Hayden Hurst, I love the move. I know that some of the players that I've talked to definitely love the move too. The connections with the New Orleans connection with Jamar and Irv, those guys, that's there. You got you know, the management behind it, the Rock Nation one, the connection with the Pratt. You got so many different things behind the scene that made sense for him to come there. And more importantly, what if I told y'all the same people that told us that Joe Burrow should go to Miami, right? Remember?
Yeah.
Remember those people like Joe Burrow should trade it? Sprint Urban in 2023 told the world that, nah, I'm going to go to Bengals because they give me a better chance to go and win. And against the same people that told us that the Dolphins wouldn't, you know, like that was the better selection. And now moving into this, you know, here we are. Swerve and Irvin put out this quote too. I forgot what his interview was at. I'm sorry. It escapes me. But it says, I felt like Cincinnati had the best chance to win a Super Bowl. And I just think that if you're a Bengals fan, that's got to feel good just in itself. I love the move that it just made sense. They were patient. Patience doesn't mean that you're not aggressive.
No, I agree. I think this move, we kind of talked about it before, the Burrow effect. This is the Joe Burrow effect. Guys wanting to play with Jamar Chase, guys wanting to play with T. Higgins, guys being shown that if you play a season with Joe Burrow and this Bengals offense, you can go off like a Hayden Hurst or a CJ Uzomah, end up getting $8 million a year and have a chance to also win a Super Bowl in the process. So that just goes to show how big the Burrow effect really is and what it can really do. Another dude that they signed, though, a guy that I've wanted for a while, even wanted him when they cut him last year, Sidney Jones signs to the Bengals on a one-year deal, 6 foot, 181 pounds, 26 years old. This is a guy that is very interesting because he's been on several different teams. But looking at the last team that he was utilized with the Raiders, he actually had some snaps. His second highest percentage actually came in the slot, which I was unaware of because I was thinking the Bengals would use him as an outside corner. But he lined up at left cornerback 40% of the time, slot cornerback 32% of the time, right cornerback 20% of the time. So this is a guy that could possibly be on the outside. He could possibly help a little bit with the Trey Flowers role if they need him on the inside. If there's a guy that's bigger than Mike Hilton on the inside there. Sidney Jones, I like the pick. Listening to what Lou had to say about him, seems like they feel like he's still a guy that can continue to get better. Like he hasn't really hit his ceiling per se. And there's also a guy that's a veteran that's stepping in the event that you need someone to come in for Cheeto if he's not ready to go week one. What are your thoughts about Sidney Jones?
We on the same page. You know, like I feel like Sidney Jones is I don't know if y'all seen his run tackling grade. He's done fine in that department. I'm not going to lie to you. Since after he came out of the draft, I haven't followed his career, but I do remember the long arms, the range for him. I know he's been on 4 or 5 teams now, but I just think it's a depth piece to be proficient in that position group, not wanting I like the Sidney Jones move. I just think, like, at the very least, it puts you in a position if somebody goes out, like how we had on that Browns game, you're not thrusting somebody like a Trey Flowers out of position on the outside corner. You got a guy that knows how to line up on the outside. I anticipate the Bengals to go to the draft, and we talked about this earlier in space. I want them to go corner as early as second round. I'm not in favor of a cornerback first round. If they got one, I'm not upset, but I don't think, much like the Zeke deal in my mind, it doesn't really make you that much better. I think you got a Dax Hill 2.0, but the Sidney Jones one ensures that you don't have to reach on a corner nonetheless.
For sure, yeah. Sidney definitely is a guy that they needed to add to this corner room. That obviously we got Cheeto coming off the injury. You got CTB, you got Mike Hilton, Jalen Davis. But with Eli Apple and Trey Flowers leaving the room, they had to go and grab someone else. Is there a chance Eli Apple returns? I think that there is. I mean, I don't think, if he were to sign for league minimum or goes out there and he doesn't have a place to play at, I could see Eli easily coming back. He's familiar with the system, familiar with Lou. He's a guy that they'd be comfortable with. Whereas Sidney Jones, you don't really know what he brings, how he's going to play and lose off defense or whatever.
Do you think Sidney Jones will get paired up on tight ends? Because in my mind, I thought that would be Tyson Anderson.
I mean, with him playing in the slot, it's a possibility, but he is a smaller guy. Like those guys both are kind of small, 6 foot. So I think maybe you could put Tyson Anderson in there against those guys. It'll be interesting though because Sidney Jones isn't the 6'4" guy that Trey Flowers was. So we'll have to see how they end up playing that out. But maybe you put him on slot receivers, but maybe not tight ends.
No, I just was I thought about that too. I know Ryan had asked us about it.
But what you think? You think Eli coming back?
I think that it's a wait and see. If they come out of the draft with nothing, then yeah. But if they come out the draft with something, what's that Denzel Washington quote? They'll be like, something. Yeah, I'm leaving with something. If they don't leave with something, they're gonna have to call Eli and be like, hey, big head.
For sure. Another thing that happened of some changes, T. Higgins changes his number to 5. Shout out to the Bengals media team for that commercial. That was the Ocho Cinco cut up, calling him Cinco. That round of applause for them. That was dope. He also appeared on the Pat McAfee show today and said it felt good to hear Duke Tobin's comments about keeping him at the combine. What do you think the number 5 means for T going forward?
I remember T and his mom were very vocal about they don't want to be Ocho Cinco 2.0 from the moment like his rookie year when he started to take off. And I think that's something that he's been trying to get away from the whole entire time. I think his career, when it's all said and done, will probably mold more so after AJ Green in my mind anyway. Like as far as like what he does, how he gets the touchdown, how he scores or whatever. People always say, can you imagine AJ Green with Joe Burrow? I think T. Higgins is what it would look like the high point in the football, mossing people, head top, all these different things. But at the end of the day, he's his own personality. He's his own person. I think he's one of the coolest people that I've ever met, one of the coolest people on the team. And a lot of people on our fan base we're all testaments to that. And he's just a good character guy. And I think he's an amazing talent. I'm really excited to see like where he goes, like, moving forward. I know he's been trying to get that jersey for a while. I don't know if y'all know this. You got to pay for it. So him getting 5, I think was really big for him. I think mentally to get out of the shadows of that whole Ocho Cinco 2.0 thing that I don't think he was ever feeling.
Yeah, he said if he would have gotten 5 last year, he would have had to pay like $200,000 to $300,000. So glad for him to be back in 5. Glad for him to be.
He didn't have to pay that much now.
No, he didn't have to pay that much now since he put his notice in the year prior. So works out for him. Those jerseys are selling, I'm sure, at the Bengals Pro Shop. Me and Zim definitely had a Fanatics code, so holler at us. That helps us out a little bit. But definitely go get that number 5 because I'll definitely be getting it. And glad that this kid is blazing his own trail. Because like you said, he's just a good kid. So let's talk about the Pro Day at Pitt. Israel Abanikanda ran a 4.3, jumped a 41-inch vertical at the Pro Day. My guy, Kalijah Kancey, ended up running a crazy 3-cone 6.82 and a crazy shuttle of 4.33. Those times would have been the fastest for Kalijah Kancey at his position group. Obviously, Kalijah Kancey already ran the crazy 40 that was the fastest since 2006 for a defensive tackle. For me,
you see him running. That's him running away from our draft board in the pick number 28.
Yeah, it's a little bittersweet because I think, like you just pointed out, it does put him out of our range. I think Kancey is a dog. I mean, man, that dream is, like you said, kiss that one goodbye. What are your thoughts about Izzy, though? Because I think Izzy, a lot of people looked at him as kind of a round 4 guy. Now he might have shot up all the way to rounds 2 or 3 now. Is Izzy a legit guy that we can look at?
I will pull the trigger on him in the second round now. I woke up, remember we was in the Twitter space, I said, man, we was doing mocks and we was taking Izzy in the 4th, and I was like, you know what, I'll take him in the 3rd. I started looking at his stuff, and then this the kicker for me. He's 20 years old. Like, to do what he's already done at 20 and then have those measurables or whatever, boy, when they created that phrase or that mantra, there's only one way to go but up. Boy, he got a lot of up. So, you know what I mean? At 20 years old, I just think that the kid looks phenomenal, and I think it would be perfect in our system. Everybody knows, or at least my favorite running back is Kamar. And he's got a lot of Kamar to his game. I think he's got a little bit more straight line speed, and a lot more straight line speed. So if he gets out, I mean, it's a wrap. 4.35 out of there.
I think so. For me, I take the pro day numbers with a grain of salt, but I still think even at worst, it's 4.4. Right, that's still very fast for a running back. The only issue that I have with Izzy, I love the production in the last year, 1,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12.2 yards per carry. That's amazing, right? The only thing I don't like is the consistency. I didn't see it every single year from year to year. You look at his first year, 95 yards. Second year, I think, was about 600. This was his big season. Doesn't mean the kid.
But he didn't have the same carries, though. The first year wasn't, he didn't have that. And the second year, I forgot the dude. I was looking at that too, though. Somebody might tell me in the chat, who is the running back that was ahead of him his rookie year?
I'm not saying that Izzy can't be good. I just think that's the only thing that I would have to see is just the consistent production. I take the risk, though. I mean, 12.2 yards per carry, 1,400. I'm not mad at that. Crazy. Another thing that our man Chef said, who's the biggest champion, did say the one thing he can't do is pass block. So is that going to weigh a factor? I don't think it should.
It's not going to matter.
I don't think it should. But being that they don't have, well, maybe it is Travion. We'll see. But Izzy, I really do like the kid. I think that this does move him up. Historically, the Bengals have taken a running back in the second round. But honestly, here's the thing, man. I feel like when we see these guys run 40s, everybody loses their mind. Don't lose sight that there are still other really good running backs in this draft. Roschon Johnson, a lot of these guys, this thing is probably at least 10 running backs deep. So, Spears as well. I don't have to have Izzy, but he would be a nice to have as well. So, depending on who's there, I think he did do some things to really help himself, and I think Cincy's out of there. But speaking of that, I'm kind of talking about.
Hold on. Let me speak on this real quick too. Let me say this real quick. I wanted to say this at the back of the second. It does depend on who's on the board, though. For me to say, I would take a Bandicanda in the second. I need to see the board. Is Blake Freeland off the board, and is that somebody that I feel like I can work with? Is Abarway from Northwestern? I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. Is he long gone? There's a couple guys that I want to see. Is there an elite wide receiver that maybe fell down to me that maybe had no business being there? Or any of the now, mind you, Cincy's up the board. We got other guys moving up the board, so that's going to push some edge rushers down. What does the tight end position look like? Is that watered down? Is tight end watered down and Kraft is off the board by then? Then that's when I'm looking at a Bandicanda. I just wanted to state that. But I'm looking at running back as early as the second round. And him and Gibbs would be my first. Those are the two second round running backs that I like the most. I think that neither one. I think a Bandicanda could be gone, bro. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. The 4.3. The 41-inch vert, him not testing before. This being the only tested numbers for him definitely is possible. Let's talk about another pro day as well, though. Tennessee had their big pro day. My guy Jalen Hyatt was there. Darnell Wright, who a lot of Bengals have talked about, who's really climbing up the draft boards right now. What does that mean? Because I think Darnell is the perfect lineman for us. I do agree with you guys in that regards. Obviously, he's played right tackle. He doesn't have to relearn a position or anything. You can plug him in, SEC player. But he's rising up, bro. What are we doing? They're liking all of our guys. How you feel about Darnell?
I'm gonna tell you, when we did, we revolutionized a lot of different things. But when we did that Penei Sewell versus Chase thing, I think that's as time is moving on, that's probably the number one thing that I think I look back at and I say, that was a good ass idea. I think we got some really crazy stuff coming up too. But part of it is the frustration in not having a starting 5 offensive line. Now, if it were me, I think that the Bengals should go trade for a right tackle and just make it so that this isn't even a thing. And that's just me. I don't know if Terrence Steele, all these dudes that they throw and they say these are guys that are possible options. I think there's some guys out there to be had. If you can't do that, 100%, I'm going to the trenches. Whether that's a Cincy level guy, whether it's a defensive end that has nothing to be, has no business being in. But above all, I'm so sick and tired of talking about the offensive line. They go hand in hand with our running back conversations. They go hand in hand with our future. They go hand in hand with Joe Burrow's protection. They go hand in hand with everything that we all want to see done. And for once, I like to go back to 2018 for a second, where we were just, top 5 off in my mind. Maybe really top 10 offense, but top 5 offensive line. And that wasn't a thing. And that's a good feeling to know that you're protected and you feel good about that position efficiency. The Bengals should make that a point of strength. If you can go trade for a guy, cool. Then I got Lyle coming back, and then that would mean that I moved Jonah and I got a pick or something like that, and I feel good about it. But until they can go into an AFC championship game, even if they got injuries and they have 5 guys that can block 5 guys, I don't want to hear about anything other than offensive line at this point. And remember, everybody, I was Team Chase. So now to fast forward to right now, it's all I've got the weapons. I'm Mr. Weapons. I got the weapons. Even though I do want to run it back to be the successor, and I want a wide receiver, but I need to go get me a starting 5 because if I'm being honest with myself, I knew, but I never knew we would go that fast. And now that we're here and we solidified these positions, I just don't see how you could run away from that tackle. I just don't see how you could do it.
So the next thing to talk about is like pro days, and does that change perception of a player, or does a RAS score matter for me? For me, I'm going to tell you this right here. Athleticism, what a person runs in the 40, that doesn't really do much for me because honestly, 40 speed and field speed are 2 different things. Now, if you want to talk about verts, if you want to talk about bench press reps and stuff like that, maybe some of that stuff is alarming. Maybe you could even look at a 10 split 4 to 40-yard dash if you're talking edge rushers. But guys like the great Ocho Cinco said, do not run in straight lines in football. That's not what we're doing here, people. That's not the only way that you get separation. Whether you're talking about a receiver or stuff like that, the athleticism is nice. But to me, I have to see the athleticism matching up with what I've seen on film. Film to me is the end all be all. What you did on film, what you showed on film, what you did from a production standpoint, the 2 things to me matter more than a RAS score, because John Ross had an elite RAS score. There's a lot of guys that had bad RAS scores. There's a lot of good guys that had good RAS scores. But to me, it's just something that's used to confirm what you're seeing on film. Now, in terms of pro days, there's 2 things here. So if I am looking at a guy that may have had showed up to the combine overweight, or really ran a slow 40, really wasn't prepared, or weighed in at a crazy rate, then I am looking at the pro day to see, okay, did he correct that? Like, how was his adjustment, like Andre Smith from his disaster combine to a pro day at Alabama? I am looking at that. Things like DeJuan Jones showing up overweight, not working out at all, not weighing in, those things might be a red flag for someone like me when I see things like that. So pro days do matter, because I think it's another opportunity for a guy like Izzy that may not have worked out at the combine to actually show up and show what he can do. And a guy like Joe Mixon, who wasn't able to go to the combine, was able to blow the Bengals away, in that pro day with that crazy workout. So pro days, I do think that they are important. It allows people to get more information on them. And it allows them to try to improve certain things that they may have done bad on. So those will be my thoughts on that. Zim, how do you feel about RAS scores? How do you feel about pro days? And how do those things change your perception about how you view a player?
I think you should be starting with the actual results on the field first, and what do those guys do? In a lot of different positions, you got to look at a lot differently. Me, when I look at wide receivers, I go right to the end, and I want to see clutch moments, and I want to see contested catches or whatever. But to me, RAS scores and these workouts or whatever, they're just validating what you saw on film. So you're just marrying the 2. It's just like a draft, like philosophy. Like, yeah, I want BPA. BPA doesn't mean that, like BPA could be Bijan, right? But for the Cincinnati Bengals, I need to look at impact, and I also need to look at positional value. I need to look at all these different things because, like Bijan, like isn't the reason why we lost the AFC championship game. Or you could make an argument that he could have had a bigger impact, right? But they weren't running the ball, so I don't know. But regardless, you got to marry these and I feel like the RAS scores and all these different things are like that. You did a mock draft, and I wanted to talk about this because I was looking at this online. I know you're Kincaid. Cheer, cheer. You're the conductor of one of those trains. And yes, I've heard about this Kincaid stuff. Did you see my post on Kincaid? I thought about it. I said, bro, we'll score 40 points a game. But there's a lot of things on here I love. I don't think Emmanuel Forbes goes second round. Carl Brooks is that was the pick of the mock. I thought that was awesome. Roshan Johnson is one of the best pass blocking running backs in this draft. Him and Charbonnet, I think. And then your steal of the draft, Chandler Zavala, the guard from North Carolina State. I love that pick. I know nothing about Dante Stills, so I know that they gave you an A on here, but I thought it was an A grade for me as well.
Yeah, so the one thing that I didn't expect Forbes to be there, like you said. I thought he was a first-round pick. I actually read something today when we were in Spaces that said some teams do view Forbes as a day 2 guy, which kind of shocked me a little bit. I don't know if it's because of the weight of the 166 or where that is. I was thrown off by that. I thought Forbes was a day 1 guy. So it is possible, but would he last all the way to the end on day 2? Probably not. He probably goes at the beginning of round 2, possibly. Dalton Kincaid, I think these are 2 guys that if they didn't have yellow flags, red flags, whatever you want to call them, whether it's Forbes with the weight at 166, whether it's Dalton Kincaid not working out at the combine or his pro day, these could be 2 guys that could potentially fall. And in this situation, they did. Carl Brooks, I think once I really wanted to go defensive interior, and that's why I took Dante Stills, because I do feel like he is a steal. When you look at the average sacks in terms of the defensive tackles, the 3 techs, he's right up there with Kalijah Cansey. So that's one of the reasons I went and got Stills. He's also a good guy in terms of I think he set the conference record for tackles for loss within his career. So he's a solid guy, a little bit older, a little bit longer in the tooth. But that's a guy that we need to step in right away. Carl Brooks, like you said, edge, we definitely need to get some pressure there. Roshan, just a running back that I felt like could pass protect and be a guy that could also come in and be pretty good in the run game. That's not all he does is pass protect. So a well-rounded guy there. Doesn't have as much wear and tear on him because he did play with the star of the draft at Texas. So there's that going for him. Like you said, the biggest one that I liked the most was guard. I think guard is being undersold in terms of our depth there. I mean, obviously they got all of these guys to compete at tackle. We know Hakeem Adeniji moved from guard to tackle. We know Cody Ford can play guard, but really struggled there. They're calling him a tackle for Cincinnati. Deontay Smith, they started him at guard, moved him to tackle last year primarily. The Bengals, I don't like Max Sharpen. Sharpen he's okay, but he struggled. And
who's okay? Max Sharpen?
He's okay, but he struggled. He's okay as a backup, but you don't want him coming in. But I feel like everybody's forgetting that the second biggest injury on the offensive line last year was right guard. So for me, I think guard has to be something that you attack, whether it's a swing tackle or something like that you have to add in this draft. And Cordell Volson, I personally started off as a Cordell Volson, criticizer. I kind of moved on from that as the season went on to give the kid a chance. I thought he played solid. A lot of people still feel like that position could be upgraded. They don't feel like it's definitive that he's just a guy there. So I think guard is another thing. So that's where my mind was at in terms of it. I didn't expect Forrest to be there, like you said, but when he was there, whether it's him, whether it's Brent, I'm probably taking that corner there in the second round.
I do not like Sharping at all. I think that Zavala in that pick, I think he will unseat him dead ass. I just think that Sharpen at this, I don't know, he just plays so slow. He's stiff. Remember the game before that, he was penalized a couple of different times. And he comes. I don't know. I'm just not a big Sharpen guy, but I love that mock though. The concept of say you like me, I'm not a big Roshan guy. But the concept of the positions that you pick is exactly the way that I would address the whole draft. The second round corner, in reality, is probably Forbes is not there, but Brent's is there. So maybe I go. But the board told you Kincaid was a guy, whether, Kansas probably Darnell's probably gone. The board showed you Kincaid was there, and that's what I thought that was excellent about the mock.
Yeah, that was the first time out of so I did my first mock draft, I think yesterday. And since then, I've seen why people are saying that they're addicted. I did a couple more. Never have I ever had that situation happen. But the craziest part about that situation, though, was actually the draft before that. Dalton Kincaid, Mayer, Kancey, all those dudes were going. That was crazy. But that was the first time I've ever seen Forbes on the board there in the second round. But speaking of cooking and mock drafts, let's talk about our good friends at Midwest Best Barbecue. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, recently voted the state of Ohio's best barbecue spot, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. They just won that award. Our man Tim was definitely just taking a business trip in LA earlier this month. They got a new sandwich coming out this weekend. As we're recording right now, they got a new sandwich coming out this weekend that they are going to try. Definitely be sure to check it out. It's a sirloin steak sandwich that they are going to be cooking exclusively this weekend. So try that out. They're always doing dope things. Number one barbecue spot in the state of Ohio, not Cincinnati, not Columbus, not Cleveland, the entire state of Ohio. They are doing it. Be sure to check them out. Let them know that Ace and Zim sent you. Zim, did you have any final thoughts on the episode before we get out of here?
No, man, I'm really excited. Like I said before we started the show, I said, man, I don't know if it's because we're bored, but we're turning some topics up. I really feel like time is just going to make it. Everything's going to fall into place. Of course, I'm all for just adding talent if it's familiar talent or whatever. Like, I think the Bengals got enough money to do it. They surely do it. And I'm just here to tell you, just listen to both perspectives and don't try to use someone's character as an argument. If I pose a question to you or you see me online and I'm saying something, notice like in the comments, people are saying, oh, well, he's a friend of the show. No, I'm giving you legitimate factual statistics and I'm giving you information. How are you going to combat it without talking about me as a person? Pretend I'm not Zim. Talk to me about the numbers that I'm giving you. Talk to me about the games that I'm giving you. That's my challenge to you. What I'm doing is sharpening you up because you know what's going to happen. The ops going to tell you the same thing about your new running back. And then what you're going to say, oh, I don't like the way you look. Or you must be a friend of the Bills. No, you got to come back with factual information. That's the reason why the Bengals community is the best on football. Come back with information. Don't come back with my character. Don't tell me about what you think that I did. I'm telling you who I am and what I represent, and that is Wincinnati. I'm here to win.
That's for sure. And the Wincinnati podcast, the off season, is going to be at Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Hold on. We had two super chats. He said it that were ignored,
and we got 2 super chats that we need to bring up. So we'll get those in before we get up out of here. Here's one from Brad Rupert. He says Chris Bree makes a good point. We need another pass rusher. I'd say inside. We didn't get home during the playoffs. Decent pressure, but low save. I completely agree, bro. The inside pressure has been a thing that's been an issue for us, I think, ever since Larry Ogunjobi went down, if we're being honest in terms of that. There's another one here. Okay, we got the other one, Jeremy Shepard, $4.99. Appreciate that, bro. He says, who do you guys like at corner in this draft? I really like DJ Turner's speed, Kalingi Ringo's potential. Would love either of those guys. I'm a Forbes guy. I'm not pigeonholed on Forbes. I do like DJ Turner. I did see that he was rated pretty highly by the good folks over at SIS. Kalingi Ringo, I'd have to see. Zim, are there any other corners that you like in this draft?
I like Phillips as the Mike Hilton replacement. I do like DJ Turner. I know a lot of people that we talk to daily on Twitter do not. I like the speed, the makeup ability of him. I think is like phenomenal. Deontay Banks, I think, is when it's all said and done, is going to be one of the best corners in this draft class. I just don't know if I'm willing to take him first round, and that's the thing with me is like, there's a chance he might be gone. But Deontay Banks, though, like he does take some chances. I think that your boy Forbes too. I love him too. I just worry about the size tackling in our division, and you got Najee Harris running at you 230. You know what I'm saying? 204, like whatever that. Like,
is he gonna make it out the backfield with they line? He gonna make it out of there?
I don't know, but that's another thing. But if lose system, your corners got to tackle, and so that was what I was saying about the Sidney Jones ones. I know they're a tackle.
And I know Keitrell Clark is another guy that they looked at as well, kind of like in that Mike Hilton role. Another one that we missed from Brad Lupert. I'm excited about Scott. I think this was another low key pickup that will pick off with this coaching staff and Scott's athleticism. I think it is a good opportunity. I mean, obviously, Lou being that secondary guy, he could probably get some things going for Nick Scott in this one. So yeah, that's gonna wrap us up.
I love Scott. I think Scott is gonna be a younger, hard hitting version of unveil at a fraction of the price. I didn't know as much, but I went and educated myself a little bit more. I do remember him.
Prince too. I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Remember, I said in a second I will go Brent's on your mock. But Nick Scott, I think that's going to be a guy that we're not going to miss a beat. I think he makes plays. I think he might have the same that Von Bell got the 4 picks. I think you might be looking at the same thing from him, but I think he's a bigger hitter, and I think you got faster. Everybody in our secondary now runs a 4.3, 4.4. So I'm good to go, and I feel like we got faster.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Appreciate those super
sure to hit that like button, subscribe, tune in, show us love. We appreciate all of you guys, and thank you guys for rocking with the Wincinnati Podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzadeh, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation?
These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time?
Yeah, shock the world.